I never thought I'd find myself in this kind of mess, honestly. Sarah and I had been married for about 8 years now. We had our ups and downs, sure, but I always believed we had a solid enough relationship. It was comfortable, predictable, until it suddenly started to feel different. She became more distant, less interested in spending time together. I noticed little things. She'd stay out later than she said she would, her phone was glued to her hand, and she'd get defensive whenever I asked about her day. I brushed it off at first. I figured maybe she was stressed at work or just going through a rough patch. But the gut feeling kept gnawing at me, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. Sarah was always a bit of a bitch when she didn't get her way. She could be charming when she wanted, but underneath, she was manipulative and sneaky. Still, I never thought she'd cheat on me, especially not with someone I'd mentored at work. That's where things got really complicated. You see, I work in a pretty competitive environment, and I've always been the kind of guy who helps out the younger staff, tries to lift them up, even promote them if they're talented. Sarah knew that. She knew how much I cared about my team, and she used to mock me for being too fatherly towards my subordinates. That's why when I started noticing my star employee, Jake, acting a little too eager around her, I had a sinking feeling. It was subtle at first. Little things, Jake staying behind after meetings, Sarah suddenly calling him buddy and laughing at his stupid jokes, things that didn't seem suspicious on their own. But I also noticed her phone buzzing a lot more, and she'd hide it when I entered the room. She'd get quiet and dismissive when I asked about her evening plans or who she'd been talking to. I remember one night, I came home early from a business dinner and saw her phone on the kitchen counter. Nothing unusual except the screen was unlocked. I couldn't help myself. I glanced at the notifications. And there it was. A string of messages between her and Jake, full of flirtatious bullshit, talking about how hot she looked and how they couldn't wait to spend more quality time together. I just stared at the screen, feeling this cold wave of betrayal washing over me. My heart started pounding and I was frozen for a second, trying to process what I was seeing. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could she do this? After everything I'd done for her, helping her get that promotion she wanted, supporting her through her stupid bitchy moods, giving her the benefit of the doubt even when she snapped at me for no reason. It was like she had no respect, no boundaries, nothing sacred. She'd lied to my face so many times, and now I knew she'd been lying about everything. The worst part was, I felt utterly humiliated. I'd always prided myself on being a good husband, faithful, supportive, the kind of guy who'd never cheat or betray. And here I was, blindsided by the woman I trusted most. The anger bubbled up so fast I thought I'd explode. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I had to get my facts straight first. I wasn't going to jump to conclusions without evidence. Still, I knew deep down this wasn't just some innocent flirtation. This was real, and it was happening right under my nose in my house during a company event I was hosting, no less. That night I stayed up staring at the ceiling, replaying everything I'd seen, feeling a mix of rage and heartbreak. I'd mentored Jake, helped him grow professionally, and all the while my own wife was secretly sneaking behind my back with him. The thought made me sick. I started to realize that this wasn't just about some affair. It was about the complete breakdown of trust, of everything I thought we had. And I knew then that I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, not anymore. I had to decide what to do next. The next morning was worse than I expected. I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck, my mind racing with everything I'd uncovered. I kept going over that message thread from the night before, trying to make sense of it all. I couldn't believe she had been so brazen about it, talking about sex, about sneaking around after hours as if she didn't think I'd find out. The betrayal cut deep, but what tore me apart more was how she lied right to my face. Constantly. That bitchy smirk she put on when I'd ask about her day, the way she'd dismiss my concerns, act innocent when I knew damn well she was hiding something. I needed to confront her, needed answers. I made my way to her trying to stay calm, but inside I was boiling with rage. I found her in the living room, scrolling through her phone as usual, acting like everything was normal. She looked at me, that fake smile on her face, and I felt my fists clench involuntarily. I threw the phone on the table and told her I knew everything. Her eyes widened for a second, then her smirk returned. "What are you talking about? You're overreacting," she said, trying to brush it off as if I just imagined it all. I lost it then. I told her I saw the messages. Her face twisted into that bitchy expression she always used when she was caught in a lie. "Oh, come on, it's not what it looks like," she snapped. "Jake's just a kid at work, and it's not like we did anything. It was just some stupid flirtation, a little fun. You're making a big deal out of nothing." That's when I realized how good she was at lying. She lied so effortlessly, like she genuinely believed her own bullshit, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her I wasn't stupid, that I knew about the sex, because, yeah, I pieced that part together too. The way she'd suddenly get more touchy around Jake in the office, the way she'd hide her phone in her purse when I came near. I told her I'd seen enough. I wasn't going to stay silent anymore. She rolled her eyes, pushed back her blonde hair, and spat out, "You think I'm some kind of slut, huh? You're just insecure because I don't give you what you want anymore. Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere." That bitchy tone, the way she dismissed my feelings, made me see red. I remember feeling this incredible mix of embarrassment, anger, and heartbreak all at once. How did I get here? How did the woman I'd loved and trusted turn into someone so cold and manipulative? The betrayal was one thing, but her ability to lie so convincingly made me question everything. I started thinking about all the nights I'd stayed up late working, all the times I'd chosen to believe her excuses, all the moments I'd overlooked her subtle manipulations. My stomach clenched, and for a moment I felt like I might be sick. I told her I needed some space, that I couldn't stay under the same roof anymore. She scoffed and said I was overreacting, that I was just jealous and insecure. But I knew better. I knew I wasn't paranoid. She'd been lying, sneaking around, and worst of all, she'd been having sex with Jake during office events, during company parties, probably in hotel rooms when I wasn't looking. The thought of her and Jake getting it on, with her acting like a bitchy queen about it, made my blood boil. I wanted revenge, but I also wanted to make her see what she'd lost: the respect, the trust, the love I once had for her. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how everything had gone so wrong so fast. I'd helped her achieve her goals, protected her from her own worst impulses, and she repaid me with this. I never thought I'd be that guy who gets betrayed this way, who catches his wife cheating with his own employee he mentored. But here I was, feeling like a fool. I realized now that I had to come up with a plan, a way to make her regret what she'd done. Because if there's one thing I learned, it's that betrayal like this doesn't just go away. It festers. And I wasn't going to let her walk away without paying the price. The days that followed were a blur of anger, disbelief, and cold planning. I stayed up late at night, going over every detail of what I'd uncovered, trying to decide what my next move should be. I knew confronting her again wouldn't change anything. She was good at twisting things around, turning every argument into some kind of blame game. I needed a way to really make her see the consequences of what she'd done, not just blow up and walk out like a fool. That's when I started thinking about how to get revenge, how to make her feel the pain of betrayal, but also how to teach her a lesson she'd never forget. I decided I had to gather more evidence. I wasn't just going to accuse her without proof. I set up a few cameras, nothing obvious, just small, discreet ones in the house where I knew she'd be. It was a risky move, but I needed to see what she was doing when she thought I wasn't around. Over the next few days, I caught her sneaking into the guest room after going out with friends, locking the door behind her. I also installed a hidden app on her phone, just to monitor her messages and calls. I felt like a total bastard doing it, but I knew she was lying to my face, so I had to do something drastic. While I was doing all this, the worst part was watching her pretend everything was normal. She'd flirt with the neighbors, go to her hairdresser, act like she was the innocent wife. Meanwhile, behind my back, she was screwing Jake, probably more than once. I found out through the footage that she'd gone into the hotel room during the company event. She was loud, she was bitchy, and she sure as hell wasn't acting like the wife I'd known. That night, I saw her and Jake getting into a hotel room, her lying on the Bed giggling like a high school girl. I could have thrown up. I felt sick to my stomach. The betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore, it was physical. I'd loved her, trusted her, and she was out there fucking my subordinate in my house during my event while I was supposedly hosting a celebration for our company. My mind was racing with all these feelings: anger, humiliation, heartbreak. I started thinking about how to confront her again, how to turn the tables, how to make her realize she'd lost everything. I wasn't just going to walk away and let her do this. I wanted her to feel the weight of her actions, to understand that she had crossed a line from which there was no turning back. One afternoon, I decided I'd had enough. I waited until she came home from her hairdresser appointment, and I threw everything on the table: screenshots, videos, the evidence I'd collected. I watched her face twist into that familiar bitchy sneer, trying to deny it all. "You're crazy," she spat, eyes narrowing. "You're just jealous because Jake likes me more than you ever did." That was her typical way of twisting the knife to make it seem like I was the insecure one, that I was the problem. I was done playing her game. I told her I knew about the sex, about the hotel room, about all of it. She rolled her eyes and said I was paranoid, that I was inventing stories because I didn't want to face the truth, that she was bored, that she needed excitement, and I just wasn't enough anymore. But I could see the panic in her eyes, the way she was trying to keep her composure. The truth was, she knew she'd been caught and that her lies wouldn't hold up anymore. I told her I wanted her gone, that I wasn't going to stay in a marriage where I was being disrespected and cheated on. She started throwing a tantrum, calling me names, crying crocodile tears, trying to make me feel guilty. But I just kept my distance, knowing that I needed to get out before things got worse. I realized I'd been a fool, thinking I was protecting a marriage, when all I'd been doing was enabling her selfishness. It was like waking up from a nightmare. I knew I had to plan my next steps carefully, whether to divorce her, to cut her out completely, or to try and salvage whatever was left of the damage. But deep down, I knew one thing for sure: I was done being the fool in this story. I wasn't going to let her ruin me, not without a fight. After that confrontation, everything felt like a tipping point. I couldn't keep pretending that I was okay with her lying, sneaking around, and betraying me in the worst way possible. I decided I needed to act fast before she did something even more destructive, like trying to spin it all against me or escalate her lies. So I started making arrangements. I talked to a divorce lawyer, gathered all the evidence I had: screenshots, videos, her secret messages, and planned what I was going to say when I confronted her again, but this time with everything on the table. In the days that followed, she got more defiant. She'd yell at me when I brought up the evidence, call me insecure or paranoid, and try to make everything my fault. She insisted she was just bored, that I wasn't giving her enough attention, that Jake was just a friend, and that I was overreacting. But I wasn't falling for her bullshit anymore. Every time she lied or tried to gaslight me, I felt more convinced that I needed to cut her out of my life completely. I was tired of her bitchy attitude, her manipulations, her constant lies. I was tired of feeling like a fool every time I trusted her. One night she came home late again, smelling like perfume, and with that nasty little smirk she always wore when she thought she'd gotten away with something. I was already prepared. I sat her down in the living room, looked her right in the eyes, and told her I knew she'd been with Jake. Her face twisted into a mix of anger and contempt. "You're crazy," she snapped, trying to deny it. I pulled out the evidence: screenshots, hotel receipts, her secret messages. Her eyes widened for a split second, then her bitchy smirk returned. "Fine," she said, sneering. "You caught me. But what are you going to do about it? Cry? Throw me out?" I saw her trying to act tough, but I could tell she was freaked out. That's when I realized she was scared, scared of losing her perfect little life, her status, her control. I let her talk, let her throw her tantrum. I knew what I wanted out of this mess, out of this marriage. I told her it was over, that I was filing for divorce. I said she could take her lies, her manipulations, her slutty attitude, and go live her life wherever she wanted. I was done enabling her. She looked at me with that bitchy little smirk, and I felt a cold satisfaction. She thought she was clever, that she'd gotten away with everything. But I knew better now. I knew I'd catch her, I'd prove everything, and I'd make her regret ever betraying me. The next morning, I made the call. I scheduled an appointment with the lawyer and started preparing all the paperwork. I also reached out to some of her friends and family, not to smear her, but enough to let them know what kind of person she really was, so they wouldn't be fooled if she tried to spin her stories. I wasn't going to let her manipulate her way out of this one. The more I thought about everything, the clearer it became. I deserved better than her bitchy attitude. Her lies, her cheating. I was the one who'd loved her, supported her, made sacrifices, and she'd repaid me with this mess. That realization hurt, but it also gave me strength. I was done being the fool. As the days went on, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief because I finally had my answer, and sadness because I realized how deep her betrayal went. I kept telling myself that I'd be okay, that I'd survive this, even if it meant starting over. I knew I had a long road ahead, dealing with the fallout, the heartbreak, and rebuilding my life. But I also knew I was done playing the victim. I was taking control back. And honestly, that felt pretty damn good. The divorce process kicked off faster than I expected. I had my lawyer draft up everything, and I told Sarah it was over. No more excuses, no more lies. She threw a fit at first, trying to pretend she was innocent, accusing me of being insecure and jealous, saying I was just paranoid because I didn't satisfy her anymore. She tried the classic blame shifting, crying about how she's been so misunderstood and I don't appreciate her. I wasn't having it. I had enough of her bitchy attitude and manipulations. I had the proof, and I was ready to make her face the consequences. It was satisfying to watch her realize that her lies weren't going to save her. She started to get more frantic, begging me to reconsider, promising she'd change, that she loved me, that it was just a stupid mistake. I told her she could keep lying to herself, but I wasn't going back. I'd seen her true colors, and I knew I couldn't trust her again. It was like a weight had lifted, even though I felt the pain deep down. Honestly, part of me was numb to her bitchiness, her lies, and the betrayal. I was done feeling small, done feeling like a fool. The day we went to the lawyer's office, I could see her bitchy attitude trying to resurface, but I didn't care anymore. I sat there, calm and composed, knowing I was finally taking control. The lawyer explained the legal steps, and I signed the papers. I made it clear I wanted everything split fairly, but with no room for her manipulative bullshit. I wanted her out of my life. I wanted a clean break. When she left the office, she was furious, calling me names and yelling that I'd ruined everything. But I just felt empty, like I'd finally closed a chapter I never wanted to open. In the aftermath, I moved out of the house. I found a small apartment nearby and started to rebuild. It was painful, sure, but there was also a strange clarity. I realized how much I'd been living in her shadow, trying to be the good husband, the protector, only to get knocked down like a fool. Now, with everything out in the open, I could finally breathe. I looked at her social media. She was still posting bitchy comments, trying to portray herself as the victim, but I knew the truth. The truth was, she had played me for years, pretending to be something she was. I also reached out to some old friends, people who knew what she was really like. They told me stories I hadn't even known. Turns out she'd been like this for a while, bitchy, manipulative, sleeping around. That made me feel a little better, knowing I wasn't crazy for suspecting it. Still, it hurt. It hurt. Knowing I'd wasted so much time, so much energy on a woman who never really loved me, only used me as a stepping stone for her own selfish needs. Looking back, I learned a lot from all this. I learned to trust my instincts, not to ignore the red flags, and most importantly, to not let anyone treat me like dirt. I don't regret the marriage ending. I regret not seeing sooner who she was. But I do regret all the time I spent trying to hold it together, trying to make her happy when she clearly didn't care. Now I'm focusing on myself, getting healthier, fixing my confidence, and rebuilding my life. It's not easy, and I'm still healing. But I know one thing: I will never let a woman like her manipulate or betray me again. Never again. Now that I'm finally on the other side of everything, I can honestly say I've learned some tough lessons. Mainly, trust your instincts and don't ignore the warning signs, no matter how small they seem. I wasted a lot of time convincing myself she was just stressed or busy, when in reality, she was already planning her next move behind my back, that bitchy smirk she always wore when she thought she was clever. Yeah, I see it now for what it was, just another way she manipulated people around her. Living through this has changed me. I used to be the guy who avoided conflict, who believed in second chances, who thought marriage was forever. Now, I see that sometimes the person you love the most can hurt you the deepest, and you have to be prepared to walk away when they do. I've become more guarded, more cautious. I don't let people in as easily anymore. But I also realize that I deserve better. I deserve someone who respects me, who doesn't lie or cheat behind my back. Most of all, I learned that revenge isn't about hurting her anymore. It's about reclaiming my life and dignity. I've blocked her from my social media, cleaned out all her baggage, and I refuse to let her ruin my future with her bitchy attitude and lies. I've started dating again, cautiously but with more confidence. I know I'm not perfect, but I am worth more than what she tried to make me believe. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's that you can survive betrayal, no matter how painful. It's okay to feel broken for a while, but then pick yourself up. Don't let someone else's betrayal destroy your self-worth. Trust is earned, not given blindly. And when someone crosses that line, cut them out. No regret, just lessons learned. I won't lie. There's a part of me that still feels angry, still wishes she'd get what she deserves. But mostly I feel relieved. I feel free. The betrayal was a kick in the teeth, sure, but it also opened my eyes to something I'd been blind to before. How much better life can be when you're not wasting time on someone who doesn't value you. So, I move on, stronger now, knowing that I won't let anyone manipulate or betray me again. That's the real victory.